10 signs the zombie apocalypse is here. Number 10. Face biters. In 2014, a man from South Florida was shot at by deputies after he attacked a retired police officer. He also bit the face of another man in Delray Beach while running around naked. What do zombies do? They usually try to bite your face off or eat your brains. The altercation began when this 6'3", 250-pound man randomly started fighting an 18-year-old who was armed with a box cutter. The box cutter proved to be ineffective against this man or a zombie, as well as the taser the police shot at him. Tasers are known to take down most people with ease, but as we know, they don't affect zombies too well. He then tried to lunge at a deputy when the guns were pulled out. Officers claimed he was on some sort of drug, and that's the only way he could have been acting like this. They claim he either died from the gunshot wounds or a medical condition. The more strange thing about this is, he only had marijuana in his system, and possibly the virus. This shouldn't be mistaken for a different zombie attack we'll get to later that seemed quite similar. Number 9. The FEMA coffin camp. Although a lot of people claim this to be a hoax, in Madison, Georgia, a large camp holds an enormous stockpile of disposable coffins. At one point, there was as many as 500,000 of these grave liners, and each one could fit about 3 to 4 bodies with ease. Could the government be preparing for a zombie apocalypse? For what other reason would they need so many cheap plastic caskets? Coincidentally, it's located to one of the biggest airports in the world, as well as one of the centers for disease control. It's always good to be prepared for an emergency, but it makes you wonder if the government might know something about a zombie virus or outbreak. If so, would this be the proper way to dispose of people infected with the virus underground, or would it be best to burn them? Either way, this camp is quite spooky. Number 8. Ebola. This photoshopped image from the film World War Z grabbed a lot of attention and went viral. Many people began to compare the Ebola virus to being the beginning of a zombie apocalypse, and that the symptoms included coming back from the dead. However, this actually could be a symptom, and the photo description may have only exaggerated slightly. Some claim there was one case where 2 Ebola patients died of the virus in different communities, despite coming back to life only a few days later. Another reportedly came back to life right before cremation. In the film 28 Days Later, a hybrid strain of Ebola and rabies was released, and it seemed to have similar qualities to what we saw with Ebola. The symptoms of this disease can appear to be quite apocalyptic. This includes coughing and vomiting blood, eye redness, red spots on the skin, internal bleeding, and dehydration. For the moment, Ebola is somewhat contained in Western Africa, but if this was somehow able to spread further, we could be suffering from a serious zombie apocalypse on our own soil. Number 7. Quarantines. An entire high school was shut down and quarantined in Hollywood, Florida, after they began developing a mysterious rash in 2012. It began to spread rather quickly, and the ones who began to develop it say they were too embarrassed to admit it. What could it have possibly been, and why was it necessary to lock down the entire MacArthur High School? Parents were extremely worried when they heard that some of their kids and other students were infected with the rash. One report claimed that it started off as a rash on his arm, and then it quickly spread to his leg. They admitted that it was red and blistering. They tested it for hundreds of different substances and diseases, but with no conclusion to this outbreak. Something similar to this happened in Canada, where children began developing horrible skin lesions like we see in this photo. Number 6. Cellphone Zombies. It's not always viruses that can turn us into zombies. More recently, new technology certainly has the potential to do so. Now more than ever, people have transformed into zombies with their cell phones. We've seen the effects of the new hit game called Pokemon Go, which have turned masses of people wandering around aimlessly on the street with their cell phones, searching for imaginary creatures. While this may seem harmless, it has led to unwanted guests at people's homes, and even deaths from people trying to operate their vehicles at the same time as playing. A woman from Sydney, Australia was killed in July 2016 and dragged over 200 feet in Melbourne, Australia after refusing to put away the phone. There was no attempt to stop, and the driver fled the scene. This is just one of the many accidents caused by Pokemon Go, and some countries are even trying to ban it. The Israeli army has even identified it as a threat and banned their soldiers from playing it. Could this cause the zombie apocalypse? Number 5. Complete insanity. It's cases like these that make you seriously think people are not only freaking crazy, but also a sign of the zombie apocalypse. A man from Hackensack, New Jersey was in critical condition after he repeatedly stabbed himself with a 12-inch knife in front of police. Wayne Carter, the 43-year-old man, seems to have definitely contracted some type of zombie virus. If that didn't already seem strange enough, He then proceeded to throw pieces of his intestines at the police. He inflicted up to 50 stab wounds on himself and acted like it was no big deal. 2 cans of pepper spray was released, and it had no effect on him. Zombies are only subdued by brain trauma, so obviously taser shots and pepper spray was not going to work. People described the scene as a bloody mess, and he was sent to the Hackensack University Medical Center. Surviving 50 stab wounds would seem like something only a zombie could pull off. Number 4. Haitian Zombies. No one takes zombies quite as seriously as the Haitians do. While most of us may laugh at the claims of zombies, the Haitians consider them to be very real. Since voodoo is practiced by 80 to 90% of Haitians, the belief of zombies is widespread and serious. Curses put on by Haitian sorcerers can supposedly make those who are living into wandering zombies, like in this photo. Many traditions and tales about zombies come from Haiti, and maybe they can't all be wrong. Number 3. Blood spitters. As you might be able to imagine, spitting out blood could be a symptom of catching a zombie-like virus. As you can tell from this photo, Kelsey Smith could be a sign the apocalypse is here. Police described his eyes to be extremely bloodshot with slurred, incomprehensible speech. When Kelsey Smith refused to get out of the car to take a sobriety test, he was hit with a stun gun. By the way, make sure not to include stun guns in your zombie apocalypse survival kit, because they never seem to be effective. He continued to fight the police despite the stun gun. The man who was reportedly drunk driving was eventually arrested. Then he smashed his head against the inside of a cop car, then proceeded to spit blood at the police. He was eventually restrained with a spit mask. Once again, this happened in Florida, 2012. What's going on here? Number 2. Flesh-eating diseases. This time, not too far from Florida, in Georgia, a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl from Augusta, Georgia, was infected by a mysterious virus or bacteria that infected this girl, Amy Copeland, and it spread viciously. It was hard to believe that anything like this actually existed. The infection resulted in amputations of both hands and a leg. She reportedly contracted a flesh-eating infection called necrotizing fasciitis, and it's what nightmares are made from. This can apparently be caused by several different types of bacteria and can lead to an extremely painful death. Amy, however, miraculously survived this zombie-like infection and is currently an English teacher. Number 1. The Miami Cannibal Attack. This report is very similar to our number 10, and it even happened in Miami as well. Rudy Eugene will forever be known as the Miami Zombie, or the Causeway Cannibal, when he engaged in a vicious assault near the MacArthur Causeway. The 31-year-old was also naked and was found eating the face of a homeless man in 2012. When police arrived at the scene, he was told to stop chewing the man's face. He then reportedly growled at the police like a brain-dead zombie. One shot was fired when he wouldn't comply, but this had no effect on him, and then he was shot again several times. Amazingly, the victim did not die, but suffered from 75% of his face being eaten. While some people claim he was on bath salts, that could just be a convenient cover-up for a zombie infection that was going on in Miami. And there could be another outbreak at any moment.